And here we go live. 5, 4, 3. All right, welcome back to another great episode of the CRE Pro Show. I'm your host this week, Dan Lukowitz, and we have a pretty incredible guest, a good friend of mine, somebody that's been on some of my shows. We've had a lot of interaction. You all know him from social media and from just being an incredible individual who is crushing it in the CRE Pro world. Today we have with us Greg Katz. Greg, how you doing?
I think that is some of the coolest.
So Greg's going to jump on here in a second,
what do you guys
and
think?
we will have an excellent
thanks a lot
interview
for coming
today
back
to discuss
to the show.
all the things CRE Pro, things in his world, all the new things that he's dealing with. Greg is going to make an exciting announcement. Some of you might already know about it. But in the meantime, we're going to talk a little bit about Greg Katz as an individual. So Greg Katz is the Vice President of Real Estate Strategy. Greg's focus is to provide enhanced strategic insights to industry trends and market dynamics, consumer shopping behavior, leveraging best-in-class data and analytics. Prior to his current role, Greg spent 15 years at the Shopping Center Group, creating and implementing strategies for organizational structure and human capital, data analytics, social platforms, website, GIS, mobile technology, and branding.
Very nice to have you here, man. Really a good
15 years in
backdrop.
restaurant
I like
operations, consulting, marketing, and site selection.
Thank you so much, Zach, and I'm excited. I'm doing great. How are you?
Casual restaurants.
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Thank you.
Greg's a graduate of the Boston University with a degree in business management. He received his MBA from the University of Florida. Go Gators! Greg and his wife Elena are the proud parents of two amazing boys. So guys, here at NRM, are we ready? We have read. Go. There he is, Greg Katz. Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Kate Patel is someone who is very, very passionate about unlocking the potential and unlocking what's truly lying there, and in terms of mindset or strategy or execution, how to get to that performance, whether it's real estate, life, or business, or anything like that. How to we not only become successful, but also
great question, man.
Discover more.
Some days I'm not sure I know.
Give and grow.
Now, look, it's been really cool to.
You're in Boston, correct? But you do have a outside of Boston, maybe. You do have a course that is about
so,
fund
Greg, we're going
raising
to just
for
jump a little bit
real
forward
estate
here. I think
deals,
maybe
right?
there's some
Finding
technical
funding,
difficulties, which is fine.
Funding your own
That's
deals.
life, right? You just got to
one of
roll
the
with
things
things.
You
You got to
did
make it
that
flow
is so
and figure out
impressive to me,
ways
and I'd love to learn more
to
about
improvise.
it,
So
is you
while we're waiting for Greg to get the connection back up, I'm just going to discuss a little bit about maybe a foreshadowing of some of the things that we're going to discuss here on the CRE Pro Show. So Greg is a great guy. Greg and I initially connected on LinkedIn. We're part of a few LinkedIn channels. Greg's a CRE Pro. He's a great guy. Greg was with the Shopping Center Group, and Greg is just doing some incredible things. So today on the show, we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about the office market. We're going to talk about this hybrid model of office and work. We're going to talk about someone of.
So yeah, can you tell me a little bit more
we're going
about
to talk
that
about
process
some things in
and why you
supply
decided
chain.
to go
We'd have a
with
great time. It sounds like Greg was kicked because somebody else actually was trying to get in the show, which is interesting. But Greg's going to actually. It is such a popular show that people are just trying to get on all the time. So.
Yeah, so a challenge that a lot of real estate entrepreneurs face is that they figured out this market, right? Or they figured out how to flip deals correctly or how to do the BRRRR method, but there's only so much of our own capital we could invest. If we really want to scale, we have to bring other people in, which is investors, and help them grow as well and raise capital. But this is where it becomes challenging. How do I really do it, right? What if the deal doesn't work out? What are the partnership terms, so to speak? And I don't want to appear salesy when I reach out to my friends or family to ask for money. All of that chatter really kind of limits the potential. So we are back to buying that 2 deals or 4 deals a year, or 3 unit or 5 unit instead of 20, 50, 100 unit. So I figured, why don't I, whatever I have learned over the years by raising, over 12 million now, why don't I break it down piece by piece so somebody has that information and they have the laying groundwork. They could take it, apply it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, they have awareness. Why am I not doing this? This guy's giving me the blueprint. Okay, am I fearful of something? And then at least they'll make some progress that way. And that's why I decided to put a lot of effort and make that power-packed, insightful course, so to speak, which is for free.
She found a location that was open. The real answer as to why she couldn't get a cup of coffee is that even though this was one of the top locations in the region, they couldn't staff it, or it wasn't economically feasible or advantageous to staff that location in the middle of the day. So, Greg, I don't know. Have you seen any of this? Have you seen challenges in staffing, challenges in occupancy with different retail locations across the country?
Maybe this is at a luncheon. Maybe this is just, maybe it's online, right? And
so I'm sure Greg's also noticed that.
To a select amount of people.
But we're waiting for him to his audio to kind of kick in here, which is, it happens. And I want to take a moment here just to explain why I don't care. Okay, I don't care because at the end of the day, we're here to provide value. We're here to there you go, provide value, and everything else follows. Right? Thanks, Zach Racing, our CRE Pro Course, and the co-host of the show.
They will tell their friends.
And we just kind of roll with it. So, Greg, whenever you're ready, just jump in and let me know that you can hear us, and we'll hear you, and we'll make this happen.
I'd love to accentuate is that you came out of something that was not real estate.
Basically,
studied something that was not real estate, and yet you got into real estate syndication.
We are going through some interesting times in the country from a retail perspective and an office perspective. So, Greg seems to be hearing another episode when he jumps on and then gets kicked off. So, not sure why.
How about now?
Oh, we got him. There he is. Greg Katz.
Now I got you.
Greg, you take the mic. Roll with it, baby. So what's going on in your neck of the world? What's going on in your business right now?
Well, it's exciting, actually, Dan. Look, I mean, there's so much going on in retail right now, so much going on in real estate right now, right? And I think COVID has accelerated that a lot, but, lots of interesting trends and lots of interesting dynamics that are starting to take place that we can talk about.
Absolutely. Anything in particular that's on your mind in terms of interesting trends that you'd like to discuss today?
So there was one that I was reading a lot about this morning and actually talking to some folks about, and that is what's going on with office, right? And it's a little bit out of my wheelhouse. I'm more of a retail guy, obviously, but it's interesting, right? So what I think is happening is we're looking at retail and we're seeing it morph into other parts of the commercial real estate industry, right? It's been at the bottom of multifamily, it's been at the bottom of offices. Obviously industrial and retail are crossing over more and more, but office particularly, as hybrid work comes into play, it's going to be really interesting to watch what happens with office space and especially in those office clusters where it's, where there's such density of office and how that space gets reused, whether it's going to be hotel or apartment or I've heard about a startup that's starting to look at renting, like personal training and gym space out of some of the offices and co-working space, et cetera. So as work changes, it'll be interesting to watch and see what happens on the office side in particular.
Absolutely. You bring up some great points about hybrid office and hybrid space and how work is changing, right? We all know work is changing. I know my work has changed. My work was always awesome, but now it's even easier for me to do it from anywhere. In fact, Greg, I was telling you a little bit this morning about an incredible listing I've got coming up, some resorts in Traverse City, and we're actually going to have an opportunity to build on 90-foot frontage of Sugar Sand Bay on Lake Michigan. It's absolutely incredible. And one of the interesting things is I'm finding there's a lot of interest from individuals that maybe they would have bought another vacation home, maybe they would have bought another investment property, but now they're saying, heck, I want a view of the bay and I want an office and a place to go for half the week, for the weekend, for whenever, because now working from home is really working from anywhere.
Yeah, and I think that's two things with that, right? I think the interest is there, as you just mentioned, and it's gonna be tough to get people back into, I guess, what the old normal was. So I think the new normal is here to stay, and I think it opens up some really creative uses, right? And really creative ways to repurpose real estate and expand on what's already there and add some real value, especially on that personal care and entertainment and remote work perspective. I think all of that's really cool.
Absolutely. It's very interesting that you mentioned, first of all, providing value, because that's what we do. CRE Pro Course, provide value, everything else follows. And I think that's a mantra that is not only essential as a business model, it's essential in an investment perspective, right? So the investment perspective of provide value and everything else follows is true in this regard as well. So when you have a situation where you've got an opportunity to redesign, repurpose, re-tenant, if you can provide some additional value as an investor, as a landlord, as a broker, et cetera, you can have everything else follow from there. So speaking specifically on, some of these entertainment options or some of these, more lifestyle options, what do you think we're going to see over the next few years in terms of additional value that landlords or tenants will provide to each other?
I think it's going to be different in how you look at space, right? I think from a general perspective, we can't go back to the way we were doing things. Malls aren't malls anymore unless they're the A+ malls, right? Malls now have hotels and apartments and all of that fun stuff in them. And so I think this change is going to be dictated by the consumers, right? By the users. And we're already starting to see that. So I see that continuing to happen. And I've talked to so many people that say, I'm not going back to the way I used to work before COVID. And from both a personal perspective and a professional, and Dan, you mentioned, having fun at work and how much you enjoy what you do. I'm the same way, and I love to work and I love to have fun and the passion around working. But I think at the same time, knowing that I can work anywhere, now I'm going to seek out some new and fun places to do that, right? While still getting my work done, but maybe be able to play a little bit more afterwards. And I think that's going to be important. I think landlords need to recognize that. And I also think the efficiency around space is going to be extremely important, right? Getting in, getting what you want, and getting out, and not having to deal with, all the craziness, making it easier to buy online and pick up in store or pick up at the curb, or having dedicated parking, having easier flow to do so, having the systems be more efficient so that you're not sitting in your car and waiting for 45 minutes when you could have just gone in the store.
Absolutely. It is all about efficiency and making it easier for the consumer. And you mentioned an interesting 4-letter word, okay, which today is the mall, okay? Mall in our industry is a 4-letter word. I don't know how far we want to get into this. I see you chuckling over there, but it really is. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. Between 21 and 23% of all U.S. malls, right, are behind 4 months or more on their payment. They're in servicing, they're in default, special assets, et cetera, et cetera. Not everyone's talking about that. In fact, no one's talking about that. I want to hear your thoughts on that before we jump into some of the other gems that you dropped a minute ago.
I question whether malls are for shopping anymore. I think malls are kind of going more the route of community gathering place, places for entertainment and eating, etc. I think the days of wanting that standard shopping experience are gone. And if you take Apple out of the mall, which I think they're starting to do more and more of, I think that even accelerates that process, right? Because I think a lot of people end up there primarily to do things like go to the Apple store. So yeah, I think you look, at the end of the day, you go to one mall and you've pretty much gone to most malls, right? And I think that's the problem. It's the same lineup of retailers. It's the same, the same look and feel. Now that's starting to change, but again, I don't know if that means shopping. I think it means more community and kind of different ways of utilizing the space.
Absolutely. Malls are not malls, just like you said. They're not malls today. And you bring up some more interesting points, like Apple. I just had my main man, Barry Wolf, on the show not too long ago. We were talking about Apple and Tesla and a lot of cannabis and the experience. Barry claimed that he's never buying a Tesla, or he hasn't bought a Tesla. I believe him, he hasn't bought a Tesla because he loves the Ferraris, right? But anyway, he hasn't yet bought a Tesla. And my point to him was, he mentioned, hey, Tesla's pulling out of malls. And he said he thought it was a good thing. Tesla shouldn't be in a mall. And I said, Barry, you're on live television talking to tens or hundreds of thousands of people about your experience in Tesla. Tesla has won, right? You may not have bought a Tesla, but we're talking about it, right? I may not have got in fact, I just ordered another iPhone. I didn't get it at the store, right? I got it from one of my relationships, one of my contacts, a franchisee for Verizon. Great guy. We'll probably have him on the show because he's a baller. But my point is that the experience in the mall is not just a fun experience or an experiential retail, as we call it, experiential retail. It's also an advertising and marketing experience, right? You might go to the mall, you might go into the store, and you might buy online. I don't know if you'd call that like GOI PII. I don't know. Go in store, pick up online. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't matter, Greg, because the whole retail experience is changing. And that's something you and I have talked about, that omni-channel fulfillment, meaning it doesn't matter how the customer purchases. Just make it cheap, easy, affordable, and efficient for the customer and for you, and then you've won. And make sure they talk about it.
So 2 things. One, it's very hard to follow anything Barry Wolf does because he's such a stud. But that aside, and don't tell him I said that.
I'm going to tell him.
That aside, I really do think, to your point, the store is also an advertisement, right? I think people are realizing that, especially in today's world. I think it's interesting. I was talking to a retailer the other day, and they changed what they look at from a store performance perspective. They now are looking at that whole omni-channel. So it's no longer about, oh my goodness, somebody came into the store, they looked around. Okay, let's use Barry. Let me back up. So Barry went in, looked around, touched a Tesla, probably sat in the seat maybe, thought about it, dreamed about it, said, nah, I don't want one, and left. But at the end of the day, if Barry does buy a Tesla, that experience had something to do with it, right? And so we're seeing stores say, if they leave, but they still buy, that's a win, to your point, right, Dan? And so now they're starting to incentivize the store performance based on the area, not just the store. And I think there's a lot to that because, again, you and I both do it. We've gone to a store and then afterwards realized, yeah, you know what, I do want that. And so we've ordered it online or we've gone back to the store and gotten it. But either way, it's a win for the store and the brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, Greg, this has been incredible. We're about out of time. I'm going to have you back because this has been an incredible episode of the CRE Pro Show. I got a couple final questions. The first question is, did you pre-order your Cybertruck yet?
Working on it.
All right, you should do it. I'll tell you why. It's $100, and full disclosure, I am a shareholder, but I am not getting paid extra. Actually, I take that back. I probably am because if Tesla does well, so do I. I'm incentivized as a shareholder, right? Very interesting. I pre-ordered my Cybertruck for a variety of reasons. The Model 3, when it was pre-ordered, you could sell those, make money on them. The Cybertruck right now, the brilliance of Elon Musk, one of the brilliances of him, whether you like him or not, I think he's brilliant and a little crazy, which most brilliant people are, is that you give him $100 and it's refundable, right? He takes that money, he invests it. He's got over $110 million of capital that we gave him, right? He knows. Dan Lukowitz. This is another great episode of the CRE Pro Show, and today we've got another great guest. This individual's been on the show before, he's been on other shows of mine, and he is an incredible individual, an incredible CRE Pro participant, a CRE professional. We love him. His name's Greg Katz. He's the Vice President of Real Estate Strategy, and he focuses on all kinds of cool things like enhancing strategic insights into the real estate trends, market dynamics, consumer shopping behavior, and leveraging best-in-class data and analytics. Greg Katz, how you doing, Greg?
Hey, Dan. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Hey, yeah, it's my pleasure. Absolutely. Really appreciate you joining us. We've had you on the show before, which is pretty cool. We appreciate you giving us your time. I usually ask the guests to tell us about themselves. Let's just assume people are a little bit crazy and they haven't watched previous episodes of this show. If that's the case, go back and rewind and watch them. If you don't want to, let's just ask Greg right now live. Who is Greg Katz?
Well, I kind of would sum it up in maybe one sentence or a couple sentences. One is CRE strategist. Data analytics geek, for better or worse, and love to talk and investigate the trends and what's happening out there. It's so much fun, right? So much going on, especially these days, Dan.
Absolutely. I mean, I tell people I don't work for a living because this is not work. This is fun. And you're one of my favorite guys because we get each other. We get it. We're both CRE pros.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's this group of people out there that I think are forward-thinking and trendsetters. You're definitely one of them, and it's always fun to catch up and have that dialogue because I hope hope people learn something, but I also learned something in the conversation with you as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that we are the commercial real estate investing Illuminati.
I like that.
I know. I like it too. I made it up myself. But anyway, before we get off on a tangent having too much fun, let's have some fun talking about commercial real estate and what's going on in the world right now. So on a previous episode, we talked about an interesting 4-letter word called the mall, right? Very interesting topics today relating to the mall. We talked a little bit about retail and what's going on, adaptive reuses for office, and we talked about Barry Wolf, right? We love him. He'll be on the show soon. We talked about what's going on in the malls, what the experience is like. I know you mentioned that malls aren't malls, and I couldn't agree with you more, that there's going to be adaptive reuses to hotels, to apartments, to fund space. One of the things we did not talk about is adaptive reuse of retail and office to industrial, okay? Talk to me about your thoughts on that.
That's a good one. So, I think from that perspective, we're already seeing a lot of this happen. I would actually, one of my favorites with this is I guess the other, not 4-letter, but still bad word out there for a lot of retail real estate folks, and that's Amazon, right? And you look at what Amazon.
By the way, former Amazon business development executive here. You know that.
Well, yeah,
those are some fighting
absolutely.
words.
But look, I think those guys they're doing some interesting stuff with the rumor out there about department store and obviously Amazon Fresh coming out. And I think it connects because for them, I think it's really a lot about industrial too, right? I think these stores serve from a retail perspective, but they also serve the industrial side. They serve that last mile and the distribution and getting things from store to store or point to point. And I think that kind of brings up that bigger trend, right? Of the industrial and retail spaces crossing over significantly. And, retail being used for distribution and industrial, I think slowly starting to become used for retail to a certain degree. Yes. And I think that's going to be a ton of fun to watch, right? And be part of.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. So I want to turn the tables and have you ask any questions you have for this CRE Pro. Before we do that, I want to know what you say to anyone who thinks or is under the misguided belief that retail is dead.
That is nothing more than a little bit of clickbait for those great headlines, right? It's you got to have the negative out there if you're gonna put out anything in press these days. It seems like, and it's so far from the truth, Dan. It's fun to watch this reinvigoration and this innovation and everything that's happening and the new concepts that are coming out there and the ones that everybody said were dead, like Best Buy, showing everybody how wrong they are. It's kind of cool out there. And I think anybody that thinks retail is dead just needs to look around at what's happening. Now, look, there's some definite retailers that are having a hard time out there, but when do they not, right? When has it not been where there's concepts in distress and there's concepts innovating? It's a natural cycle. And I think that natural cycle continues and maybe it accelerates because of COVID, but the strong survive and the ones that are doing it right survive and they continue to innovate. It's definitely not dead. It's actually going through a really cool innovative stage right now.
Absolutely. The cool innovation is the adaptive reuse of the space. It's the adaptive mindset of not only the consumer, but the investor and the corporations, the big guys, the small guys, the big girls, small, it doesn't matter how much you weigh, everybody, right? All those people are adapting. And the ones that adapt, it's not just the strong survive, it's those that adapt that survive and thrive the best. So let's turn the tables, okay? You got the mic, and I see you're wearing the wired headphones, so you watch the video, which is awesome. Greg follows directions, love that. What questions do you have for this CRE Pro?
All right, so here's one for you I've been waiting to ask, okay? So I've been watching the Amazon and Walmart kind of this war that's going on, and Target kind of gets involved. You hear that name periodically, but how do you see that shaping out, and what does that future look like for you? Especially, you might be a little biased on the Amazon side, but what do you see happening from a Walmart and Amazon perspective? I mean, they seem to be very reactive to each other.
Yeah, excellent question. And I would say I'm not biased, I'm honest. And full disclosure, I am a shareholder of Amazon. I am a shareholder of Target. I am not currently a shareholder of Walmart. I have a background as an Amazon business development executive, and I believe very strongly in the corporation of Target. I think that Amazon is an interesting place. It's an interesting culture and an interesting, its own really biosphere. Walmart is fascinating because Walmart has just this incredible penetration into the U.S. market in terms of demographically speaking. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but a large 90 or 95% of the U.S. population lives within, I think, 5 or 10 miles of a Walmart. They also have an incredible amount of capital behind them and U.S. wealth. You know, the Walton family, those members, I think maybe 4 or 5 of those family members, the inheritors or the individuals from the original, Sam Walton, they're like of like the 4 or 5 wealthiest individuals in the country. Amazon is the great aggregator, and I think if you don't know what an aggregator is in 2021, then you really miss the point of the last 10 years of retail and tech growth. Because the aggregators of the world, the DoorDashes and the Ubers and the Amazons, what some people label, and I have to be very careful about what I say here, but some people label this a prostitute workforce, okay? And in a certain sense, it is, right? Because what we're doing is we're making the employee kind of like a commodity. Let's trade employees, right? Instead of paying benefits and instead of giving out 401k and all these other things that employees should or should not get according to, your own belief system. What we do is we say, okay, well, Greg Katz, for example, let's use you as an example, or Dan Lukowitz, right? Greg Katz has an hour right now. And, Bob Smith needs to get from point A to point B, and Greg's kind of nearby. Let's send Greg out there. We don't have to pay him benefits. We don't have to, give him insurance. Actually, he has to pay incredibly expensive insurance, but that actually just went up, which is going to totally rattle those markets. And now Greg is going to drive whatever I said, the person, right? And then he might stop and he might pick up some 2x4s, and he might drive the 2x4 somewhere. And then he might go and grab some Taco Bell, right? And take the Taco Bell to someone else. So all these corporations have outsourced the labor to Greg Katz, and Greg is just like, okay, cool, I'm driving in my vehicle. It's very interesting. And that's going to have massive implications to the consumer automotive markets as well as the freight automotive markets like semis, okay, like electric vehicles, like autonomous semis, okay? Now back to the actual corporations themselves. Amazon, great aggregator. Amazon, huge employer. A lot of things to say about Amazon. We're going to keep it, very neutral, as they say, okay? Formerly employed there. I think that, in terms of my position on the company, we'll see what happens in terms of antitrust, okay? We'll see what happens. Very interesting that Bezos kind of stepped down and went to Blue Origin. Another fascinating point, you look at major corporations and mega wealthy people like Amazon, Jeff Bezos, like Microsoft, Bill Gates, like Tesla, Elon Musk, okay? All these individuals are actually motivated in part by space colonization and space travel. And they're all pulling away from their major companies and going to space. It's absolutely incredible, okay? There's a whole nother schmooze there. But for the purposes of our conversation, I think Amazon is a unique company, and Amazon is incredibly powerful and ubiquitous. They're everywhere. What people don't realize, most people, they're starting to realize it now, is that Amazon's cash cow is not Amazon Business Marketplace, which I was part of. It's not Amazon Consumer-Facing Marketplace. It's actually AWS, Amazon Web Services, powering all of the back end for a huge portion of the market and the internet. And in fact, Amazon Web Service powers Netflix, okay, a competitor. And at a certain point when Netflix went down years ago, I heard from the mouth of one of the directors of Amazon Business that Netflix was using 30% of the bandwidth of the internet. They're a competitor to Amazon, and they're powered by Amazon Web Services. Many commercial brokerages websites are powered by Amazon Web Service. So their penetration into technology, information, retail, everything is incredible. We're not even going to talk about their industrial penetration. That is just mind-boggling. Target, great company. Why I like Target is that Bed Bath & Beyond started closing stores all over the place, giving Target more market share. Walmart, they're going to put up a big fight against Amazon, and I'm very excited to see that fight play out. How's that?
I like that. Awesome answer. And I will tell you that I think the other piece of this equation is, especially Walmart and Amazon, these are companies that can try a lot of things, and some of them can fail, and it's perfectly fine,
yep.
Right? They've got the bandwidth, they've got the resources and the capital, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And so when I think everyone gets in a panic when they see things like, well, Amazon's going to get into the department store arena, or Amazon's now.
They already are in the department store arena. They already are. Look at their partnership with Kohl's from the last few years. It's not a partnership at all. And it's not a partnership.
No, because people are
It's a cannibalistic opportunity.
It's absolutely. People are going there, dropping off their packages and leaving. They're not shopping. And so at the end of the day, it's brilliant strategies. And again, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and they'll move on to something else. And because they've got the core and the foundation. One of the interesting ones that I've been watching is it appears, and I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but it appears that Walmart's now looking to start supplying small businesses in a different way, distribution and supply, using their logistics network. And that's an interesting one, right? Because now you're really you're taking over in essence, you're taking over that retail point.
They're following Amazon's footsteps on that regard. They absolutely are.
Right.
That's what we did when I worked for Amazon Business. That is what we did. We onboarded new businesses across the world, right, to Amazon Business so that they could buy and sell their products through our system. Because keep in mind, Amazon has probably now over 550 million products in their catalog. That's an estimate. When I was there were about 400 to 440 million. The vast majority were never owned by Amazon. The vast majority were fulfilled by Amazon. And the vast majority were actually in warehouses that the company was paying Amazon to rent. They were paying Amazon to package. They were paying Amazon to ship. And then, of course, they're paying Amazon to use their platform, right? Whatever that is, depending on the category, 12, 15, 18%, whatever it is. And then in addition, right, they're paying to store their stuff there. And then they're paying Amazon with sponsored product ads so that they come up higher on Amazon's list. An interesting company that I'm very, very keen on watching right now, specifically in the commercial real estate space, specifically in the hotel space, the resort space, the multifamily space, not multifamily maybe, but yes, that kind of space is actually Google, okay? Google is going to come out with something incredible that's going to totally disrupt the Airbnb market, the VRBO market, the resort market. And anyone who thinks they're getting things for free from these companies like email addresses or data or storage could not be more mistaken. I mean, these are the great data collecting companies. In my opinion right now, Greg, I'm curious what you think, but data is one of the most, if not the most valuable commodities in the world.
Agreed. And I will add something to that. I think the data itself has become, to a certain degree, and there's definite exceptions, Dan, but data has become somewhat commoditized in the fact that if you really want it, you can find it. I think what's starting to differentiate out there, and it's actually one of the reasons I was really excited about my career switch, is data and how you use it, right? And using the right data and asking the right questions. And I think that's the differentiator right now. It's not getting the data, because as well as I do, you can go out there and there'll be 10 of these providers saying mine's better than theirs and theirs is better than this one, and so forth and so on. At the end of the day, how you use it and how you educate people to use it, that's the differentiator.
Absolutely. Data and how you use it. I would add, it's how data uses you, okay? So if you're ever doing anything and you're not receiving advertisements for a product, Greg, it's probably because you are the product.
Agreed. And I look, I think there's a lot of discussion around all of that, right? And how do you as an individual leverage the fact that your data is a product? But I think the flip side,
you are the product, though. You are the product.
Yeah.
Look at the great aggregators. Look at your data is being bought, sold, transferred, and you are the product. You may be the one that's advertising. Barry Wolf is advertising for Tesla on Dan on Top. Greg and Dan are advertising for Amazon, Walmart, Target, Apple on this show. We are the product. No,
absolutely. I do think, however, that the advantage to the consumer is still, that's a big discussion that's still taking place, right? Because if it can be more targeted and I can get more of what I'm looking for, when I'm looking for, how I'm looking for it, then to me it's a win-win. And the monetization, that's a whole different discussion of whether there should be monetization for individuals around the data. But I do think it can be a win-win if done correctly. Yeah. And benefit everybody, right? So it just makes those ads that you get more relevant or more important, and it makes it makes what you're looking for easier to find, etc.
Absolutely, no question about it. So we're about to wrap up. I think we have only a few minutes left. Before we change gears and go to another great guest on the CRE Pro Course show, the CRE Pro show, I should say, right? I'd like to know if there's any parting words you wanted to end with, Greg.
I think probably from my perspective, it's this. There's a ton of open runway out there, Dan, on the retail side, on the real estate side. And those that don't see it should just, and I'll be blunt, find another career. It's there. It's there. It's definitely there. And this is an exciting time. I just continue to feel it and to see it. And I hope everyone, takes advantage of it. I know you are.
It's an exciting time. Feel it, see it, enjoy it. I'm Dan Lukowicz. This has been another great episode of the CRE Pro Show. This has been another great episode of the CRE Pro Show. This is Greg Katz. You've been a great you've been a great guest on the CRE Pro Show.